Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of The Apollo Show. I'm your host, Apollo, and I'm here with men's mental health advocate, Ben Lowe. How you going, mate?
What's going on, bro? Thanks for having me, bro. Stoked to be here.
Mate, stoked to have you here. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about what you do and what your message is?
All right. So a little bit about what I do. I'm a men's self-sabotage coach, if you like. So self-sabotage behavior can look like drugs, alcohol, womanizing, gambling, and just being in excess of those things. So for me, it's about helping these men to overcome those things and understand that they're just a symptom. Okay, the drugs, the alcohol, the womanizing, the gambling, the social media addiction, whatever it might be, all that sort of stuff. It's all a symptom and all comes back to self-worth. So what I do is I help men to find their self-worth so they no longer rely on these vices.
Awesome. And yeah, that is definitely something that young men do. I mean, I probably was self-sabotaging myself for the entirety of my 20s with binge drinking, partying. Dating apps are probably a good distraction.
Oh, bro, Tinder, let's go swipe. It's just as bad as the pokies. And it's set up the same way, right? Every time you swipe, you're getting a random reward. It triggers that dopamine receptor, right? It's all social media, all of that plays on it now.
Mate, it's such a interesting time to be a young person because It was hard to make it in business, in life, in general before you had these like social media apps that just drain your attention and that are developed by the same people that develop slot machines are developing the triggers and things to keep you on these apps. So now is the hardest time ever, I think, to be keeping your together as a dude.
Seriously, dude, it's crazy to see. I've got a little boy, he's 6 years old, right? And he's got an iPad that he has to use for school. And I've watched the soul leave his body and the excitement from his life leave since he started using his iPad. Everything revolves around it. And that's how young they're starting them.
Dude, I don't know, Mike, I don't know how I would go because I'm already severely addicted, admittedly, to my social media, which is my work as well. So
yeah, it makes it even harder, bro, because you've got to be on it.
Definitely,
you know?
Definitely. It's easy for me to say I have to be on it. I don't have to be on it, but like it is easy to make the excuse to be on it like fair. 6-7 hours a day. Yep. And I am. So, I mean...
Oh, yeah, let's look at that screen time for a second, right?
Oh, dude.
Here's a hot tip for you, right? 4 hours of screen time averages about 8 to 9 weeks per year that you're wasting on your phone.
8 weeks?
8 to 9 weeks.
24 hours a day, 8 weeks.
Yeah, so that's...
Wow.
So if you have an average of 4 hours of screen time, we did this, right? And if you have an average of 4 hours of screen time, that's an average of 8.7 weeks per year that you're wasting on your phone.
And I can kind of... Like, that's absurd,
wild,
by the way. But... It's not so absurd for someone like me who makes money from it. But for the general punter who is a plumber, who doesn't make any money through his social media, that would be devastating for me to hear.
Like, what would you do with an extra 9 weeks of your life? Like, anything.
Exactly.
Do anything, you know what I mean?
You could literally, 9 weeks of 24/7 effort on anything would mean that you'd be pretty all over that. If you wanted to, learn an instrument or get a new skill for the business, go to school, like all these things can be achieved outside of that. But it's pretty crazy. It's pretty addictive. It's like digital for sure.
Quite literally, bro.
Could you share a little bit about your journey and what led you to become this advocate and overall helper of men's health?
How deep you want to go?
Mate, as deep as you want to go.
All right, let's run it.
So,
I guess growing up, I had a pretty average childhood, man. I had actually a really good family. And I guess when we get into what my story is, you wouldn't expect me to have the childhood that I had because I guess like a bit of a background, I did really struggle with drugs and all that sort of stuff for a very long time. And a lot of people that come from good homes generally don't go down that path. But like 13 years old, up until that point, I think everything in life was perfect. I was a very timid kid. I lacked a lot of confidence. Didn't really feel like I fit in the world. And at 13 years old, my parents split up. And this is when things started to get a little bit chaotic for me. And so, as a lot of us do, to deal with my emotions, I started drinking. One of my mates bought some, I think it was a 6-pack of something to the skate park. I drank that and I felt good, right? And all of a sudden I was like, wow, that makes everything go away. I feel amazing.
It's a bad thing to learn at 13.
At 13 years old, man. So every weekend from there was just me out on the piss with the boys at the skate park, because back in those days, being out at 13 years old, you'd come home when the streetlights came on or you'd be staying at a mate's house.
Exactly.
Staying at the mate's house, whatever you tell your parents.
Yep.
Yeah, so things were pretty chaotic from there on out. And fast forward to about 15 years old and I just started smoking, right? So the drugs, the alcohol wasn't enough. Just started smoking. Once again, it was something that made me feel really good. Like it just numbed everything. I was like, I can actually deal with life now. It was almost like, imagine that you have like this static just turned all the way up and it's just screeching in your brain constantly. And I'd smoke weed and it was just like it dulled
right
it
down.
all the way down, the way down. Everything else went away. And so I started smoking. My mum caught on to this, and who I was living with at the time, my parents split up obviously. Mum caught on to this and she's like, I'm going to give you an ultimatum. You either pull your head in and follow my rules or you move out. Now, if anyone asked back then, I'd tell everyone that I got kicked out. You know, the victim mindset, right?
Yep.
Poor me.
Yep.
So here I was, 15. I think I was actually 16 at this stage. 16, out on my own in the big bad world.
Oh, so you did end up
I moved out,
moving
bro.
out? Yep.
Yeah, I moved out. I wasn't following rules, man. There's no chance, right?
What is up, people? Are you ready to elevate your health game? If so, then listen up. Introducing to you BLCKWAVE Supplements, your go-to destination for holistic supplements that cater to both men and women. Designed to optimize your entire system. Whether you're looking to enhance focus, libido support, or to revitalize your overall well-being, BLCKWAVE has got you covered. Head to their website, www.blckwave.com, and try their wide range of holistic supplements, ranging from their 2 flagship products, their cognitive support, Brain Force 1, designed to help skyrocket your focus as your productivity goes through the roof, and their male libido support supplement, Alpha Male, Male Enhancement, designed to help you unleash your inner beast. Ladies, do you also want to reignite some heat back into the relationship? Well, BLCKWAVE also offers horny goat weed to ignite your passion and help enhance your libido. And here's the cherry on top. Use my promo code WAVE20 at the checkout for an exclusive 20% off your purchase on the website. So what are you waiting for? Join the BLCKWAVE revolution today. Are you sick of scouring the hub looking for something authentic? Well, MyOF has exactly what you're looking for. Real girls having a real good time. Exclusive behind the scenes, 50% off your first month, and over 100 videos ready to watch on the feed as part of your subscription. With weekly new releases from both homegrown Australian talent and overseas professionals you know and love. It's an amateur's paradise. Go check out the website in my bio and follow the links to the Apollo Show X. Wanted to see me, myself, and my D? Same website in bio, but look for the Apollo Show solo. Enjoy, guys. Where'd you live at that point?
Kids, so I was actually working at McDonald's at the time, right? So one of my managers from McDonald's, he's like, bro, I've got a room available in one of my share houses. He owned a couple of houses. And he's like, man, I'll give you a room for $100. And here I am, this kid, I'm like making a couple $100 a week at Macca's. I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. That sounds sick. Right? So I moved out. I was living at this share house with a bunch of randoms I'd never known. Had no idea how to cook. I was literally living off McDonald's and mee goreng. That was my diet, man.
You didn't learn to cook while you were out on your own?
I did, eventually. Okay. But like first moving out, I was like, this is sick. I get to eat McDonald's and mee goreng every day. You know what I mean?
Such a 16-year-old's mindset.
Literally.
Just like, yes, I can just have like junk food all day.
Yeah, literally.
Without mum around, perfect.
I can do whatever the I want.
Yep.
That was the mindset, right?
Yep.
And so you moved out. I was working the night shift at McDonald's. I was going to school during the day because at this time I was still in year 12. And I just started selling pot as a way to keep myself afloat.
Right.
And so during this time, I got really, really sick. So moving out of home, obviously, not really knowing much about nutrition and how to look after myself. My sleep pattern was all over the shop. I'm pretty sure I wagged, so I was going to school, but it was so hard to get to school because I was doing night shift. I'm pretty sure I wagged 90% of the first term and I got asked to leave the school.
Right.
And
wagged means not going.
Yeah, didn't go. So I was at home watching Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Of course.
Smoking cones, watching Dragon Ball Z.
Yep.
And I'd go to my Macca's shift. And so something had to give. I got really sick with this glandular fever. I was so violently ill, probably the sickest I've ever been in my entire life. And so I dropped out of school. I quit my job and went all in on my new hustle, which was selling pot.
Selling pot, right.
And so this is, I guess, where you could say that my mindset as an entrepreneur really started, or my journey as an entrepreneur, right? And so fast forward to about 18, right? So this was going on for a few years. And I moved back into my dad's house just before my 18th birthday. Right, things were getting pretty hard, and I was like, I want some stability, and so we tried working things out, me and my old boy, and man, I was selling drugs from his house, from my old boy's house. I had people rocking up to his house.
True.
I was blazing cones, smoking pot in my bedroom.
Did he know?
Of course he did, but
Right.
I treated him like he was stupid, man.
Right.
He came up and confronted me about it plenty of times, but I was just like, you're stupid, you're off your head, you got no idea. And here I am, red eyes, eyes as red as the devil's right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
just like treating him like he had no idea.
You sound like a delight.
Oh, I was a cunt of a kid, bro. It gets better.
Go on.
Then some dumb drunk shit one night led to the front door of our family home being kicked in by 8 police officers.
Ooh.
Yeah, we had cops rocking up for stolen property.
Okay.
Because I'd been out, and this is something that I did when I was younger. A heap of the boys on here from the skate park would like break into cars, break into houses,
Boosting cars, just flog them. Yeah.
doing all this stuff. Like if you're watching the news in Australia at the moment, you see how crazy youth crime is on the Gold Coast, especially, which is where I'm from, right? And I was one of those kids.
Mm-hmm.
I'd go out to a party, we'd get on the piss, we'd get bored, and I'm like, how do we get home? Let's go steal a car. Let's break into some houses, right?
How do you steal a car without the keys?
So older cars, a bit easier, right? There's like some wires you cross and whatnot, but we'd break into the house, we'd steal the keys, we'd take the car.
True.
Yeah, so like we're doing house breaks, right?
Yep.
So older cars, a little bit different, but like the way we were going about it was, we'd sneak in the house.
You'd have the keys. So
got the keys.
it wasn't anything complicated. It was just, I'm already in the house.
Yeah.
I'll take the car while I'm here. Great.
Yeah, exactly right.
AMG Merc, perfect.
We'd take their and fill the car up and then drive off with the car, right? Like I was a absolute kind of a kid, man.
Did you ever think in this period of your life, did you ever think like this is a road that is going to end me in jail?
No chance I was thinking about that.
You were just like, I can't get caught.
Well, think about this, right? Drugs and alcohol put you in a disassociated state. You're not thinking about consequences, right? And this is, I guess, true for anyone. When you drink and you go out on the piss, you do the dumbest things without thinking about them. Wake up the next day and you're like...
I would say alcohol for sure, but in my
God,
experience, alcohol is very different to weed. Like if I was smoking weed, I'm a lot more paranoid about the consequences of my actions, but alcohol is the opposite. So that's why I'm asking, like, did you ever get like paranoid about getting caught when you're on weed? Because if I was on like a different drug, like coke, for example, that boosts my arrogance, boosts my confidence, and boosts.
But think
that,
back
like,
to when you first started smoking weed,
invincibility.
right? When you first started smoking weed, you didn't get that anxiousness, did you?
I did.
Okay.
But also when I was smoking weed, I couldn't even, when I first started smoking weed, I never had like a novice person's amount. I would always have so much that
Just
I
a
couldn't.
hero's dose at this point.
Yeah, I couldn't even think about stealing a car because I'd be too f***ed up on the couch. I'd be melted into the couch. Someone could come sit on me and I wouldn't even flinch. Yeah. You know what I mean? To be not on those harder kind of like amp up your confidence and kill any kind of self-doubt, like pain. Yeah. To not be on those.
They numb. That's what they do, right? They're drug and alcohol, whether it's drugs or alcohol, they put you in a disassociated state. So
definitely
you're not feeling, right? You're not feeling at all. Like that's why I used to smoke weed, was because it took away those feelings, right? So all of a sudden I felt 10 feet tall. You know, so I'd be out stealing cars, not thinking about it, whatever, breaking into people's houses, and it was not an issue. You know, at the time it was not an issue. And so here we are.
So 18, eight cops kicking down your door. You're 18.
I've got a little 4-foot Asian, like she's Indonesian stepmom. Loveliest lady you ever met in your entire life. Never seen anything or been through anything like this. And all of a sudden it's like, cops there, like where's Ben? We're here with a search warrant to find stolen property, and then she's just like, what do I do? Yeah, and thinking back now, I'm just like, I feel like the biggest piece of shit for putting my family through what I put them through. But at the time, being in that disassociated state, thinking I was the man, I'm like, you're the problem. You're the problem. I'm sweet. And so
very easy to point the finger, isn't it?
Oh, so easy,
especially when you're in that kind of state.
Well, this is something that a lot of us men struggle with, is ownership. Right? We f*** up and then we put it on someone else. Because it's uncomfortable to sit in that and actually have to feel the fact that you f***ed up. Right?
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah. I should have asked previously, like, I'm cool to swear on this,
Of course. Go for it.
Here I am just like rattling off like every 3 words.
Totally fine.
But so I moved back out of home at 18, and this is when things took a real turn for the worse. Like I started drinking every day and started...
Were you arrested at that point? Like when you got the...
Yeah, I went, so they came to my dad to the house. I think I was working at the time, or I was out with my dad doing something. So he took me to the police station.
Oh, so they didn't get you when they came?
Not at the house, no, I wasn't home. So they found the stolen property.
Oh no!
And then I had to go in and face up for it, bro.
Yep.
So first charge I ever got charged with was like 54 breaks, which includes like houses, cars.
54 separate units. Of that.
Well,
wow.
So it could be a car, it could be a house, but it was like over this course of one night where I was just out on a rampage.
Right.
Yeah, and so like it was like breaking in the cars, opening car doors, and that sort of stuff. It's like even if the car's unlocked, that counts as a break and enter.
What's the like for you at that time, because it was your first? I'm assuming it was your first offence as far as the police knew, but it was such an acute offence. What's the repercussions of that? Did they give you a little break, or did you have a chance to not go into jail or get like huge fines if it meant you cleaned your act up? Like, what happens at that point
So
for a first offender?
When I originally got charged with that, I was actually under 18, but I got charged as an adult because by the time I went through court, I got charged as an adult. So I got put on probation. Okay, so I own the fact that...
How long is that? 12 months?
I'm not too sure what happened for me for the first time, but put it this way, right? From about, well, obviously being in the court system from 16, 17, I was on a probation or a parole order until I was 26. So once you do it once, you've got your number, you're in the system, and then from there, anytime you up, it just continues to add on and add on and add on. And so it just snowballed from there. But I think the first thing I got was 12 months probation.
Okay.
Right, let's just say that's generally what they give people for the first time, right?
Yep.
And so I got this 12 months probation and, like I said, moved back out of home and started drinking every day because once again, I was like lost.
So instead of seeing that as a sign, you just turned it up. You just use it as an excuse to push the accelerator down on your bad habits.
This is something that played out in my life multiple times is when I'd see myself getting in trouble, and we'll get to that in a second as well. When I see myself getting in trouble, I just go balls to the wall. Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, I'm gonna get in trouble anyway. I might as well do everything I can.
If we're gonna break the rules, may as well break them good.
That's right, brother.
Yeah,
you know, that was the mindset, right? But once again, that comes back to validation because the people I was hanging around. You know, it's like I wanted to be cool.
Yeah,
I guess that's the big thing I missed in that whole story was that I used drugs and I used alcohol because I never really felt like I fit in. But when you've got drugs and alcohol, as you know, you fit in with everyone. Anyone that's using drugs anyway.
That's the thing you have in common with these people.
Right.
But then you realize down the track when you do get off the drugs and get off the alcohol, get out of the party cycle, you're like, man, I haven't heard from Tim or John or Tony for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And I've been not drinking for 8 weeks.
Like, how does that work?
That about?
Yeah.
You know, and you realize these people aren't my friends. They're just my people who are...
Associates?
No, not associates. You know, when someone is an enabler, they're just enabling their own bad habits and you're enabling their bad habits and they're enabling yours. They're not interested in you as a person.
Yeah.
And you realize that when you stop doing the thing that, you know, they're using you for, which is to be a drinking buddy because they're alcoholics.
It validates them.
It validates them. And they're
behavior.
like, well, they're like, Ben's a weird cunt now. He just keeps going to the gym and wants to sleep on a Saturday night. What a fucking weirdo. You know?
What a loser.
Exactly. So, yeah, that's so you just like turned it up to 11.
Started taking heaps of acid.
Yeah.
And then I tried the thing that changed my life for the first time, which was
wow.
For those that are listening from anywhere other than Australia.
Yep.
And
were you smoking that?
Smoking it, yeah.
Yep.
So I remember the conversation I had with the guy that gave it to me for the first time, and it couldn't have been any more true what he said, right? He's like, are you sure you want to try this? Because I can promise you your life will never be the same. And I can promise you that from this point forward, my life was never the same. The next 8 years of my life looked like something you'd see in an Underbelly TV episode.
As in, you had it together and you were just like living a life of crime, or were you like in the meth house, like really fucking... Were you ever like a full blown junkie?
I never shut up, but I was smoking meth every single day. I was literally smoking it to go to sleep. I was going 8-9 days without sleeping and barely eating in that time. And when I would eat, it'd be like McDonald's, and then I just go. But my life from this point on was like, I guess you could say the inner entrepreneur kicked in again, and I upgraded my game from weed to ice.
Oh, you're selling ice?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing is I always had the mindset for it. I was never addicted to the drugs, ever.
Right.
I was never addicted to drugs. I was addicted to the power they gave me.
Right.
And so it was the validation. It was the fact that I belonged. It was the fact that people needed me. It was the fact that I had money. I had girls. I had cars. I had everything because of the drug.
I've never tried meth.
Let's keep it that way, please.
Of course. 100%. Yeah, I'm not interested. But I'm curious, what is it about meth that makes it such a addictive and alluring drug? Like, what did you feel when you smoked meth that's different to when I, do a line of or when I do, like, what is the distinctive difference?
Okay, so as soon as you smoke it, you get these tingles down the back of your neck. You feel unreal. I'm talking like the best you've ever felt in your entire life. Like, I'm talking 10 feet tall, right? This is the first time you have it. It's just like, this energy comes over you, man. The sex on it, the conversations on it, the missions on it, everything is better.
Everything's elevated.
It's crazy, right? And I'm not trying to sell the drug here at all, right? Because the things that come with that is the fact that my whole life then revolved around that. Every single day revolved around picking it up, weighing it up, selling it or smoking it. And with that came all the other stuff. Like, I've been shot at, I've been robbed at gunpoint, I've been in multiple high-speed police chases, I was at war with an outlaw motorcycle gang at one point. Obviously, the other side of that is the money that comes with it. Like, I counted more money in 2 weeks of good business than most people will see in their entire lives. Like, there was a point in time there where I was clearing, once again, profit for myself, 70 to 80 grand a week.
Wow.
And so, like, you can see the appeals of it, right? But with that, your whole life revolves around it. Like, there was nothing else apart from that drug for 8 years. And the only time that I wasn't high was when I was locked up. I spent 4 years in jail in total.
When did that happen?
So 20 was the first time being locked up. Like I said, the whole...
2020?
No, 20 years old.
Oh, 20 years old.
So I'm 32 now, which would have been, what's that, 12 years ago. So
12 years ago. So 2012.
2012, yeah, crazy.
So you did 4 years from 12 to 16?
2012, no. So I was locked up across, so when I first got locked up, I was 20. When I last got out, I was 26. I got locked up 6 times. I was a very slow learner.
Oh, okay, right. So it wasn't like it just wasn't
Not one block.
Constant. So what was your longest stint in?
A year and a half.
Okay, so you did like a year and a half, 6 months here, year
6 months, like,
Yep.
4 months here. The first time I got locked up was 4 weeks. And it's because I missed court, right? So
Right.
I was on parole, I was on probation. I had another court date for something else. I'm pretty sure I got caught with some drugs.
Right.
House got raided again or something like that. It was just like a regular occurrence at this point.
Yep.
And missed court. And because I missed court, they had a return to prison warrant. So because obviously you're on bail, that means you're pretty much, they say, innocent until proven guilty. It's more so guilty until proven innocent. And when you get given bail, it's like, well, you're in jail, but you just got jail on tick, if that makes sense. So they've given you jail, but you've got a way of getting out of that. Just for if you were to be found,
Yes.
not guilty, right? And so I skipped that because I was like, well, I completely forgot, let's be fair. Like, I completely forgot about it. And then when I found out the cops were looking for me, I went on the run.
Right.
And so every time, this is something that played out as well across that whole period, was every time that I'd get in trouble with the police, I'd just go on the run. And so at one point there, I was on the run for a year.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so 12 months, I moved from Brisbane to the Gold Coast. That's actually the reason I moved to the Gold Coast, was because the house I was at was my parole address.
Gotcha.
Out in Birkdale in Brisbane here. And I was like, so what actually happened was we got pulled over. It was like 11 o'clock at night. And I jumped in a friend's car of mine to grab some gear. And he would take me around the block to show me the gear. All of a sudden, cops roll up behind us. And he went to put the high-speed chase on. So he puts his foot down, takes off, but then pulled over. Right, and I've got 2 ounces of ice. And I've got, so if anyone doesn't know, it's like 56 grams. It's a lot of gear. And I've got 15 grand cash. And I'm like, what do I do with this? We've got cops pulling us over. All down the pants, right?
Right.
We get pulled over and the cops pull us all out of the car. And I'm at this point, like, if you can just imagine me peaking, but being on the gear for probably 3 or 4 days at this point, I haven't slept.
Oh, no.
And so just looking at an absolute treat, all washed out, singlet on me that's probably dripping off me, right? And so I'm around 6'1", 6'2", and I was sitting at about 61 kilos.
Wow. What do you weigh now?
Like 88. I sit around 88 comfortably, bro.
Yep.
And so you can just imagine I was looking at an
You were
absolute treat.
skinny, man. That's if you're 20 kilos heavier now. Like, you're not a fat dude now.
No,
it was
that's right.
all muscle mass.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, well, no, that was all just, that was skin and bone.
That's what I mean. Like, all the 20 kilos you would have lost to be that weight is all muscle mass, because you're not fat right now.
Yeah, that's right.
I can't see you losing 20 kilos of fat as you sit right now.
No, dude, I had to lose 10 kilos for a fight that I had a couple of years ago, and that in itself was hectic. I'm thinking about to be 10 kilos less than that. Like,
yep.
Mind blowing.
Seriously.
But the cops pulled us over. They're like, mate, what's in your pants? Because I've got this bulge in the front of my pants. And I'm like, nothing.
You're like this huge
I'm like, why don't you have a look? And so they literally grab my pants, undo my pants. And I'm like, while you're down there. Anyways, they put the torch in there, and there's these 2 ounces of ice. There's these 2 sandwich bags full of gear. Big, shardy crystals.
So they definitely found it.
They're like, mate, what is that? I'm like, you tell me. And obviously they've got the recording device going, so I'm just like saying nothing. They're like, well, you're coming with us. And at this point in time, I'd already given them my name, because I'm like, I might be able to get away with this. Anyways, they're walking me over to the car. He's got his right hand on my left shoulder, and with his right hand on my left shoulder, and with his left hand, he's opened the car door. And I've seen this opportunity. I'm like, F this, I am not going back to jail, right? So I elbowed him in the eye socket, stepped the car, took off across the street, and got away. And I was on the run for about 12 months.
Wow.
And I got in about 2 police chases during that time. There was times where we got pulled over by police, and I jumped seats with my partner at the time. And so, like, we're driving the car, and I'd literally roll the seat back, jump over the back seat, she'd jump over, then we'd pull over, and it was like she was driving, so they never asked my details. And like there was multiple times I should have gone to jail during that time.
Dude,
like, crazy
what a
shit,
life
man.
to lead at that time.
Crazy shit, bro.
Just living wild.
It was literally like the Wild Wild West, man. Like, just do whatever the I wanted, man. It was, but the thing is, because I was like, I'm going to jail anyway, I might as well just send it. That was the wrong mindset, bro.
Definitely the wrong mindset.
The wrong mindset.
This episode brought to you by BLCKWAVE supplements. go to their website, www.blckwave.com, and get the best supplements known to man. Mate, at what point did you realize that your lifestyle needed to change? What was the catalyst to your recovery?
Okay, so there was a couple of moments, but I think the biggest light bulb moment for me was the last time I was in jail, right, for that year and a bit. And sitting there in the induction unit, which is where everyone that comes from the street comes into the same place, right? And I saw the same guys coming in like 2 or 3 times, and I'm like, look at these losers. I was like, that's me.
You're like, I'm one of those losers.
That was the penny drop moment, right?
Yep.
And so I got out of prison. I studied. I had no trade or nothing behind me, but I'd heard something about one of the other boys I knew who'd been in and out of jail his whole life, studying his Cert 3 and 4 in personal training. And I found fitness in jail, right? There's only 3 things you can do in jail: play cards, shoot up, right? So inject. That's what all the boys do. A lot of the boys do, or train. And so I found training, and I found that I had a passion for it, because after learning a little bit about bodyweight training, I started to sort of lead the training as well. I was out there always doing the training. I was the disciplined one that would always bring the boys out. I was like, I wonder if I paid to do this. And so I did my Cert 3 and 4 in personal training. And at this time, I started as a PT, and I was still smoking.
Mm-hmm.
I got out of jail and I was still smoking. So I was clean for a year.
Were you smoking during?
While I was in there?
Yeah.
No. So I didn't have availability to do that. You can get drugs in jail, but it's not like everyone says, where it's like easier to get them in there and all sort of stuff. It's not like that. Yeah. And
so you were having periods of sobriety throughout this time?
Yeah.
Like when you had this realization and when you were doing all your fitness stuff in jail, that was all sober?
That was all sober.
Brilliant.
Yeah, 100%. And I realized that I started to feel good, right? And then I get out, I do the same shit. I'm like, I feel bad.
Yep.
Like I said, bro, slow learner.
What would draw you to getting back on it as soon as you got out?
Easiest way to make money.
Right. Oh, so you're going back to selling. You weren't necessarily just smoking.
I wasn't just using, bro. I was never just using. I was always selling.
Gotcha.
I don't think I'd ever say that I've ever just been like the bottom end drug user, but I've also had a raging habit where I was spending thousands and thousands of dollars worth of drugs up my nose or smoking them every week, right? So I have been that guy, but I've always had the availability to it because I was selling it.
Yes.
You know? So I was a terrible drug dealer. You know, they say don't get high on your own supply.
You do them both.
Never listened.
Yeah.
Never listened.
So, all right. So you got out, you still smoke. So you started doing personal training, studying it, but you still smoke.
Yeah, man.
What made you get off the meth?
I found out my son was going to be born. So and my partner at the time, I found out she was pregnant, right? And I had this sort of moment where I was like, if I continue on this path, I'm going to bring a kid into this world, into this environment. And I'm not going to go too far into it, but her whole family, so the mother of my kid, they're still quite tied up in that lifestyle.
Oh, so she was smoking meth as well?
We were using gear together.
Yep.
Yeah. And so she's a lot better now, but her whole family was tied up in that. I was selling her dad ice. You know what I mean? So like, I knew that if I didn't get away from that, I'd never be able to change. And I feel like if I didn't break away from that, I'd still be doing the same. So I actually left her while she was pregnant. Okay. And that's probably one of the things I hold the most shame and guilt around, is leaving her while she was pregnant, but also
Was she using during pregnancy?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of. I can't comment on that, but I don't think so.
Yep.
And I wasn't a part of my son's life for the first 6 months because I was just completely off the rails, because I got off the ice, but then I turned to and women and alcohol instead as coping mechanisms, because once again that self-worth came up. It's like, I feel like shit. What can I do to make myself feel better? I can do this. I can do these things. But they're more acceptable, right? Especially as a lad, right? Let's talk about it. Yep. Right? As a guy, slaying heaps of girls, it's a done thing. It's like it makes you one of the men, right? Yes. Locker room talk, it's like talking about all the girls you slept with and all that sort of stuff. Yep. Talking about how many lines you banged on the weekend, how many nines you banged on the weekend. Yep. You know, how much piss you drank, right? It's almost like validation through getting fucked up.
Australia has a particularly bad party culture in that respect. Like, everyone gets absolutely lit the up on the weekend. Anyone who comes from overseas that I know, like when I used to play rugby and stuff, they'd come over, like, unless you're from England, like English dudes can kind of hang with us when it comes to drinking and partying.
And Kiwis.
Kind of. Kiwis can't really handle their piss. They get too drunk. Yeah. They end up like, they do get as drunk as us.
Yeah, but they love the sesh. They love getting back after the club to the sesh.
That's true. They do.
You know?
But I think that everyone else around, like all other countries around the world, see us as a huge binge drinking culture, like in a way that's impressive, because they're like, dude, I've been out with a few Australians and they like, I literally cannot even fathom how they drink, how much they drink.
It's crazy, right? To think that's validation.
Yeah, and it's part of like who we are as a culture. Like when I was growing up, especially like in the 90s, if you went out to, even now, I guess if you go to a rural country town in Australia that is 20, 30 years behind, it's all pub culture. Like, what do you do on a Friday? You go to the pub. What are you doing on a Saturday? You go to the pub. You know what I mean? And everyone's, super super like that's their pastime. Part
Yep.
of it, like a great Australian pastime is drinking as much beer as possible.
It's almost normalized, which I think is a real problem because of the issues that it creates. But
Definitely.
apart from that, a lot of us as men identify as drinkers. Like it's part of who we are. Like if you weren't drinking, what would you be doing? And I can guarantee that 90% of men would say, I don't know.
Definitely.
I actually don't know who I am without the alcohol. And this is one of the things that I face with the men that I work with is the fact that they've been doing it for so long. It's what they were taught
That's
to do
their hobby.
by their parents. It's that I haven't got anything else apart from that.
Totally.
And we take them away from that environment, create a obviously change in lifestyle for them, and all of a sudden it's like these endless possibilities they have available, right?
Yeah. Like, so what unique mental health challenges do you think men face today, especially in Australia?
I think a big part of this, I guess, and that's a really good question. Like one of the biggest mental health problems we face is the fact we don't talk.
Mhm.
Okay, for men, we struggle to be vulnerable. As a little kid, I remember getting told by my dad, "Don't be a little." Big boys don't cry.
Yep.
Vulnerability is weakness. But the way that I see it is that it's actually harder to be vulnerable than it is to suppress. It's harder to
Definitely.
talk about your emotions and be like, hey, like this is actually how I'm feeling, out of fear of judgment or out of fear of, someone actually being like, well, now that you've said that, I don't really like you anymore, right? Vulnerability is such a power and it actually takes strength. But for us as men, we get taught to suppress. We get taught to hold all our feelings back. And so the biggest struggle I think we face is the fact that that's what's ingrained into us from a very young age. And it should be more normalized that to be vulnerable, to actually speak about your shit, right? To obviously not whinge and moan and not do anything about it. It's like being able to talk about your stuff, but actually then take action on it, right?
That is the important thing. There's a fine difference between just talking about your problems and actually actioning it and doing something about
Accountability,
it.
man. Accountability, bro. And having other people to keep you accountable. Like with the work that I do now, like we've got a group of over 42 men now. We're aiming to get to about 50 and we'll pause it there.
Yep.
But 50 men that I work with, right, on average, and all of them are absolutely thriving because they've got accountability. They've got men they can lean on and be like, I'm struggling with this, dude. And we're like, cool, like we get that. What are you doing differently?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than just and moaning about it and ending up in the same pattern. Because what happens is they do something, men, right? They do something, they feel shame. And then that shame then creates them a feeling of that shame cycle, that shame spiral, I should say. That shame spiral then leads to more self-sabotaging behavior. And that self-sabotaging behavior leads back to the shame spiral. And it's just like this back and forth and back and forth. And it's
And
why
all the while, you're just feeling worse and worse about yourself personally.
I'm never going to drink again. Then next week and you're doing the same. Right, every time you make a promise to yourself and break that promise to yourself, you're actually taking yourself out of integrity and diminishing your self-worth. And men that have no self-worth are the ones that are out drinking every week and writing themselves off, trying to find validation through drugs and alcohol, going out and obviously just being peace with women because they're trying to slay as many women as they can because it makes them feel like a man. But I mean, I've been there. I've been that guy, and I know that at the end of all that, I felt fucking empty.
Oh,
I
definitely.
felt soulless.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, party culture / hookup culture doesn't make you feel good. Like, it's fun at the moment. It's like drugs. It is very much like a drug. Like,
I think we've all got to go through that to some degree, right? I mean, like,
definitely.
It's like our rite of passage of in Australia, we've got this rite of passage of party culture, but a lot of men get stuck in that. You go back to like ancient Aztecs, right? And they had this like rite of passage into manhood where they go fight a fucking lion or something, right?
Yep.
It's like there's no rite of passage for us into manhood. But so many men that get stuck in that cycle are still there 30, 40 years on,
Yeah, it's pretty sad. It's pretty sad. People who are still, or men that are still in that cycle of getting absolutely written off hard on the weekends, and they're like near 40.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a night out every now and again,
Of course.
but I couldn't imagine doing the volume of drinking and substance taking that I did when I was 22 to 27.
God, no, dude.
No fucking way.
God, no. Like, I think I've abused my body for at least my whole lifetime in the last 20 years. So
I look at people who are, I know people who are like 40, 45, businessmen. They've gone through the steps of life, like they're not just like, addicts who are drinking and partying every weekend. They're high-end lawyers now, but they got a family, they got a partner, whatever. But they also still get absolutely written off every weekend. And I'm like, how do you do it? It's pretty incredible, actually. Like,
yeah,
it's
100%.
It's amazing to see it because you're like, man, if you put those physical attributes that gave you the endurance and durability to be able to pour a liter of vodka into your head, twice a week, like, you could be, amazing.
Imagine if
else.
you're putting that into something else.
Imagine if
right?
you're putting that into fitness. Imagine if you're putting that into training. Imagine if you're putting that into anything else.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty incredible.
And
really.
this is a conversation I have almost every day. It's like, but I'm actually like functioning as an alcoholic. I'm like, but like, are you really reaching your full potential? Like, you're really selling yourself short there,
Yeah, oh, definitely. How can society better support men who are dealing with their mental health struggles without facing judgment or stigma?
Well, I think that it needs to start with the conversations that we're having, right? And actually, for us as a society to take away the stigma around mental health by opening up more of these conversations. Yeah.
I liked what you were saying about how you got 42 dudes, and I'm sure you've got like a group chat or something like that.
Bro, that WhatsApp group chat's hilarious. We've got like one for banter and talk, because we need that as lads, right? We need a bit of banter. We need some funny shit. Yeah. We've got one for accountability and support. We've also got one just for the mentorship, so for the group stuff I'm doing. But a lot of the work that we do is actually looking at all the patterns that have played out in their life and how they relate back to childhood, because all of these things, right, stem back to some kind of childhood experience or some sort of experience in life that has then affected self-worth, because all dysfunctional human behavior comes back to a lack of self-worth in some way, shape or form, right? If you give me a scenario, I can guarantee I'll be able to relate it back to a self-worth issue of some kind, right? But the drugs and the alcohol, they start off as something funny or something fun that we do on the weekends, but they turn into this, okay, well now they're away from me to avoid my problems, right? But with the question you asked there around, I guess, making it normalized, it's by getting around more men's groups. It's around getting around and having these conversations with men. And like, for instance, if you are struggling with something, knowing that there are people there that you can reach out to. And like, I get it, right? I get how hard it is to talk to like a psychologist or a counselor or someone on the other side of the fucking, suicide helpline, right? There's a good chance that, well, this is the thing that I find every day is I'm having conversations with men that can't relate to their psychologists, can't relate to their counselors. They're going in, they're swiping their credit card and walking away feeling worse than when they started, because the person they're talking to has no lived experience, right? You've got this 22, 23-year-old psychologist out of college who's never been through any of the these guys are going through, who, okay, they're 42 years old, going through marriage breakdown, going through relationship breakdown, right? I haven't been through that, but they're then leaning on drugs and alcohol as a way to cope with that. I get that. I understand that. That's what I did for 15 years of my life. I've been there. So the relatability piece is a big part, because then that allows men to actually see that there's hope.
I have seen psychologists before, and I can relate to them not really understanding exactly what I'm going through and feeling like I'm kind of talking to someone who hasn't been on the same path as me.
They're reading out of a textbook, man, a lot of the time. Like, and I'm not taking away from the credit of the psychologists out there that have
some are good.
Done the work.
Some are good.
Exactly right.
But I feel better when I've got a boys chat that with four other lads that we just shoot every day.
That,
pretty much every morning we take a picture of like ourselves and send it into the group chat from the gym. Be like 6 a.m.
How many cock shots are in that chat?
0.
Come on,
Zero cock shots. Funnily enough. But like those group chats, I think for me, like when I'm having something happen in my real life, like some sort of drama, and I have a chat to those lads, or I've got 2 or 3 really good friends, male friends, that I can just kind of say, hey dude, you got 5 minutes when I quickly download something to you. Like that is so valuable for men.
Women do this automatically. Women do this by default, right? Like something happens in their life, they go and they have a community of women that they can lean on.
Yeah.
For us as men, we get taught from such a young age that we have to do everything alone, right? Back to the old day of the battler.
Yep.
Yeah, we have to do everything alone. We can't lean on each other, which is bullshit, because like what you said there, like good men around each other empower one another.
Totally.
And they make life so much fucking easier, man. When I started to realize, like, okay, I had a relationship recently. I noticed I started to lose myself in it. And the one thing that I hadn't been doing was every Sunday prior to that, I'd go with the boys and go for a run in the morning. We'd go jump in the ocean, we'd have a coffee and talk shit.
Yep.
It was the small things like that I was missing, which stopped me from then obviously having that fulfillment in my life.
I saw somewhere recently that studies done that dudes need 2 sessions of like chilling with the boys per week in some capacity.
Amen, brother. Amen.
To feel like they're like on top of their mental game or mental health.
Straight up.
And I believe it, because I mean, every Monday I play Mario Kart with 3 other lads.
Yeah.
And we share like
good, bro.
It's so good.
It's like the inner child just running wild, man.
Well, the thing is, we're totally distracted when we're playing, and it's like it brings us together. It's competitive, but we also take turns in making dinner. So it's like, and then we download all our like we talk about it over dinner. So, I mean, for me, that Monday plus, the group chat, plus maybe I'll catch up with another one of my mates some point through the week for a coffee or whatever. Like, that is the bare minimum that I need, because I live a pretty like, volatile lifestyle when it comes to like my work being up and down, can like putting out fires all the time. The
stresses of life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got to be able to mitigate that somehow, man.
Exactly. And as a dude, it's either you surround yourself with other good dudes who want to communicate with you, or you do these other, like, or you have like a normal slash a more healthy outlet like meditation, training, extra sleep, looking after your sleep hygiene, all that stuff. Or you do coke.
That's right. You do the things that give you that quick validation, right? It's like instant gratification versus delayed gratification. It's like, exactly. Yeah, if you got to sit in it, it's fucking uncomfortable, but you're going to feel better long term. Or you go snort the bag, you the girl, you drink the piss, and you feel good for about 5 minutes. And the next day you hate yourself, you have the shame, and you do the same thing again because of that shame.
Yep.
And this is the pattern we need to break, is because it's been so normalized that that's how we deal with things. And I mean, like, I think about it. My dad would be like, "Oh, I've had a long day. I need to have a scotch." Mm-hmm. And later on, then there's the bottle gone. You know what I mean? It's like, that's the way he dealt with his stress, right?
Speaking of which, like, that was the culture growing up, was like, especially the older generation, like, maybe not like like our parents would come and have a beer in the evening. Yep. Alcohol would be a real crutch to like stress relief. So
100%.
Do you think that culture around drinking and drugs is changing in Australia, especially amongst the younger generations?
I definitely think there's a lot more awareness around it now.
Yep.
And I think that there is massive shifts towards actually like the mental health side of things. But I definitely think there's a lot more we can do by having these conversations, because I guess I look around now on the Gold Coast, and a lot of the people that I associate with, I would have never thought existed, because there's a whole group of people that aren't actually out drinking on a Friday and Saturday night.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that there's definitely more of a shift towards it, but what that looks like, I'm not exactly sure. What that looks like. I know for me, I don't see as many people out drinking, but that's also because of the environment I've chosen to be in, right?
I was going to say, I actually don't think that there's as much drinking in the younger generation. I think it's twofold. Two reasons why. One, the cost of living is fucking insane.
Oh, bro, I don't know how we used to go out and get a bag every weekend, right? It's like $3.50 there.
Well, I know how we used to, because it didn't cost you $6 for a bag of chips from the grocery store. It cost you $2. No, I'm not even kidding.
Bro, those kettle and avocado oil chips, have you had those?
They're amazing. But
crack.
When I was younger, I could find $400 a week.
Yeah.
To spend on drinking and all the other stuff. But now, like, I think that the alcohol, like the drinking, like especially drinking out at bars, I think has reduced purely through like just a monetary value. Like, people aren't making enough money to live, between rent, between cost of living with groceries and whatnot.
Yeah.
But also, I think that a lot of people in the younger generations are kind of seeing the destruction and the destruction that alcohol can cause. Like, I got a few mates actually who don't touch alcohol at all because their dads were like wild alcoholics.
Yeah.
And I've got like plenty of people I know who are like, look, I just don't like how it makes me feel.
Yeah.
Even though everyone's getting hammered.
It's the awareness, right? It's like the people are choosing differently. Like I said, when I stopped drinking, man, I didn't realize there was people out on a Sunday morning, they're out like sending it, like run clubs, right? Like, I didn't realize that existed.
Run clubs have just become so popular because people don't want to pay for gym. This is another thing. Like, I'm not even kidding.
But honestly, like the expenses side of things, that's not even a conversation I've had, but it's so true, right?
It is so true.
Like, a lot of the guys I work with, right, they're spending upwards of $600, $700, $800 a week on habits.
Yep.
Drugs, alcohol, gambling. That's like the low side of things, right?
Yep.
So you think about these kids out there, how are they going to be able to actually ever afford to party like that anyway? Because with the cost of living going up, right, and obviously everything else, like you said, like even just going out and buying a drink, it's like $12 there for a standard.
Yeah, dude.
And you're not just buying one.
Crazy, dude. Yeah. I couldn't believe how much a beer is. If I want to buy a pint of beer from a nice pub that's in the middle of town, it's $14.
It's crazy, eh?
Which is like affordable to some, but when I was 18 to 21, long time ago now, but I mean, when I was 18 to 21, it was, so when I first worked at my pub in my hometown, mind you, it was a country pub.
Where are you from, bro?
I'm from Queanbeyan, which is a suburb of Canberra.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I used to work at a pub called Walsh's, and I remember very distinctly our schooner price going from $4 to $4.10, and all of the locals being up in arms, freaking the out, being like 10 cents, like losing it. So
it's crazy.
To look at a schooner now be worth $11, $12 for something that's not exotic. For just a regular.
Yeah, it's a cold glass full of piss.
Whatever, like it's not. Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like, but also I wonder if drug use has gone up exponentially because people can't afford alcohol.
Well,
like even I at times have opted to take, to choose one or the other, because I'm like, man, do I want to spend, $400 tonight, or do
the
I want
amount of times I've just eaten a lot of drank waters because of the alcohol. Once again, the alcohol price, but also just the way it makes you feel afterwards. I could definitely talk into that, right? Like, I think that drug use definitely has increased with the price of alcohol, because when I was selling drugs, like, I never so I went from obviously selling to then selling party drugs. There was not a weekend that I didn't run out.
Yep.
There was not a weekend. I was getting like good quantities, right? There was not a weekend that I didn't run out.
Yep.
Because people were just always on it. Yeah.
Always. Well, especially like cocaine stuff, people can get really hooked, and especially like and like those.
Well, the other thing I was doing, right? Pills and
I just don't see people
coke.
getting as addicted to. It doesn't seem to have the same qualities. Like, you don't hear people being in a house, but you hear them being in a house. You know what I mean? Living on like a stained mattress with no sheets. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't see that to my knowledge.
Yeah.
But like,
those are the houses that being cooked in.
Right, yeah, exactly, in the bathtub. Mate, what advice do you have for someone who's trying to break free of those toxic social habits?
Man, look at where they came from, okay? Actually find out the root cause, because the drugs, the alcohol, the women, the gambling, they're only symptoms, like I've said a couple of times in this podcast. So understanding, because this is the thing, right? We see this so often with the men that I work with. It's like they've been to rehab, they've been to counselors, they've been to psychologists, but nothing changes. And it's because they're actually addressing a symptom, okay? So rather than trying to look at the drugs and the alcohol as the problem, understanding the reason why you're using those things. Is it that you feel like you lack confidence? Is that why you drink every weekend? Is it that you feel anxious in social settings? Is that why you drink every weekend? Is it that when you snort, it makes you feel numb, so you don't have to worry about the childhood trauma that happened? And when you can get clear on exactly what the actual root cause is, rather than addressing the symptom, you can address that root cause, and then that thing will no longer be a problem. This is the work that I do with the men that I work with, right? It's every single one of them comes to me for a drug and alcohol issue, womanizing, gambling, whatever. But if we boil it all down and we actually ask the right questions, it always comes back to self-worth. And rather than focusing on the drugs and the alcohol, when we focus on the self-worth as a trickle-on effect, those things are no longer issues. I'm not saying that everyone I work with never drinks or takes drugs again, but they have now control of those things because they understand the reasons they're using them. They have the awareness behind it. So get some awareness around what the actual root cause is behind the habits that you have, because habits are only there for one reason, right? They're there to serve a purpose, right? To make things easier for us.
Yeah, it's particularly hard with men who refuse to get, as a whole, men find it hard to go deeper than surface level emotionally.
Yeah.
So I think getting someone, like, once you can get a dude to actually voluntarily delve deeper into the why, like why I act this way, why do I do this, and take accountability. That's the hardest part. Once like, I think that's the hardest step.
Well, if I can give a piece of advice around that it's when you understand or when you feel that there is a problem, do something about it. Because the problem that I have is that, not the problem I have, actually, the problem that a lot of men I have that I work with is that they hit rock bottom before they get help. They've lost their family, they've lost their job, they've lost their business, they've lost their kids, they've lost their wife, or whatever it might be, or at least they're on the brink.
What I'll say is that's very normal.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I've had experience with people in that regard, but coming from a personal training background, I would only ever see people for personal training, not only ever, but a big percentage of the people I would see for fat loss would be people who were rock bottom.
And in your opinion, why would you say that is?
People have a false sense of self-ability. I don't know how to explain it. Like they've got like this idea that, kidding themselves even, where they're
I feel like when you're in it, right? When you're actually in it and you're consumed by it, you're not seeing what's actually going on. But the big thing there is the fact that we as human beings are motivated by pain, right? Pain or pleasure are the two motivators in life. And so it's only when they get into pain that they're motivated to do anything about it. But
also there are, like, where I was going with that before is that men in particular seem to have this arrogance that I can change it whenever I want.
It's the ego.
You know what I mean? So
ego.
it's pulling this ego down enough to say, yeah, I do have a problem. Like, the hardest thing about, like, what was the old saying? The hardest thing is admitting you've got a problem.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these.
First step, right?
First step.
The awareness
the
around
first step to recovery is admitting you have a problem. So I think for dudes, like I'm not even going to say dudes, women, whatever, when I was seeing them for fat loss, when they were like, I've tried everything, like this is my last step.
That's the thing, right? I've tried everything, right?
Except what I know works,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I don't know what it is. Like, I never used to see people who would come in proactively. I would very rarely see someone who's like, yeah, I can see like my junk food consumption's going up. I can see I'm getting a little bit more sedentary. I haven't fit into clothes as comfortably as I'd like. I'd like to get on top of it. It's almost always, I've been binge eating flat out for 8 weeks. I feel disgusting. I've bought 2 new wardrobes full of clothes because I've gone from an L to a double XL and just, you know, thought I could handle it on my own. And now I'm here and I'm like almost in tears. You know, I feel like that's the same kind of, like, that's food addiction for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's the same mindset as the people who come for, you know, for drug rehabilitation. It's always seems to be when they're like on their last legs, they're
when they're in pain.
bottom.
It's when they're in pain.
The pain doesn't stop,
Yep.
and the cycle just, they've done the same cycle of trying to recover and then relapsing 4 or 5 times in a row before they're like, I need help. And that's like I think that's the hardest. That's the most hard part about being an addict, is trying to get through those 4 or 5 times of trying to get out of the cycle and safely, like without getting arrested, without having ruining your relationships, without getting fired from your job, you know, like, so.
Do you know what the hero's journey is?
The hero's journey?
The hero's journey is like the journey that we all go through on life, right? And I guess I'll take you through the first 3 stages, because what you said there about going through 5 or 6 times of messing up before you actually do something about it is pretty much in our psyche. It's something that we do as human beings, right? It's the first part of the journey is like we're not even aware of the problem, which is where the guys are when they're partying every weekend. They're like, oh, this is fucking sick, right? But then they become problem aware, right? But they're like, it's too hard to change the problem. So like the guys that are eating too much food, or the ladies that are, you know, having to buy extra clothes because they're getting overweight, it's too hard to change the habits, right? But then everyone has the refusal. It's like they actually refuse to admit that there's a problem. That's actually part of us, and it's ingrained in our psyche. And it's usually that ego, right? And we usually do that minimum on average about 3 to 4 times.
Right.
So we'll go up and back down, right? And like you were saying, even with the weight loss people, like a lot of people will do the 8-week challenge. They do really well for 8 weeks and they fall back off.
Yep.
Right, because the problem is they haven't addressed the root cause. It's the same with the eating or the drugs, right? They do really well for getting off the piss for a month, but then something happens in their life, and all of a sudden they're back to square one.
If only people would use those 8-week challenges as a tool, because they do all the right things when they do an 8-week challenge.
100%.
And then as soon as they get off the 8-week challenge, they just kind of go back to
I'm going to celebrate by
old
getting on the
habits.
piss.
Exactly right.
I can't wait to eat that cheeseburger that I haven't eaten for the last 8 weeks.
Exactly. So
It's crazy, hey?
it is crazy. But I mean, that's the kind of mindset, and it's hard to change that mindset between like all or nothing.
That's
you know what I mean?
exactly it, man.
And I think
it's either here or there. There's no in between, right? And that's something we really struggle with as human beings.
Well, I think with drugs, you kind of have to be either here or there. Like, that's a hard one. With food, it's a little bit different. Like, you can be like, for example, if I'm a food addict, I can say, look, okay, as long as I track all my food, I can have a Mars bar once a day. If I track all my food and it all lands on this calorie output with this amount of protein, I could have something I enjoy every day. But if you're like a addict, you can't be like,
I'll just have a little bit of meth,
exactly.
right? It's all good. I bash my sister every time I smoke meth, but I'll just have a little bit. It's fine.
But even if you don't do anything like that, like, it's very hard for a drug addict to be like, I'm going to have just 1/8 of the drugs I would normally have. You know, so it is a really like hot, cold, on, off kind of thing, which it has to be.
Yeah, but I think once again, it all comes back to finding that root cause. Like, it all comes back to understanding why you're actually doing those drugs, why you're actually drinking that piss, why you're actually feeling like you have to gamble, right? That's the bottom line here is like, what is the root cause?
Yep.
Because until you address that, you're always going to end up back in the same cycle. And it might not be with drugs or alcohol. It might be looking for validation through something else. Like I said, women. Right, I stopped drinking and stopped taking drugs, but I was sleeping with multiple women, and it was like I had to do more and more and more. And the more you seek that external validation, the more of that external validation you need to feel the same relief or the same feeling of enoughness.
Yes.
You know, and until you actually work on that self-worth, that's always going to be the cycle.
Definitely. And even though like having sex with a bunch of women feels good at the time, it is very much like a drug in a casual sense.
Yeah.
Like, if you're dating someone and creating and cultivating a relationship, that's different.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I never felt good after having like a range of casual encounters monthly. Like, it just never really did anything for me. It was fun at the time.
And then you're still there, lying there alone at the end of the week. And you're
Totally.
like,
Totally.
I'm going to change my sheets now.
Exactly. How did you rebuild your life and relationships in a healthier way post-addiction?
I think the biggest thing is just self-awareness, taking the time to actually get to know myself. And the only way you can do that is by being off the drugs and the alcohol, because like I said earlier, right, the drugs and the alcohol put you in a disassociated state. So you've got no idea who you are. You don't know anything about feelings. I'm still, and this is the hardest thing to admit, I still have the emotional maturity of probably 15-year-old, because I spent 15 years in a disassociated state, taking drugs, drinking, smoking, sleeping with women, like obviously all that sort of stuff to distract myself. And so I didn't actually develop emotionally. Like I'd break up with a girl, let's say we have a fight, she'd leave, we'd break up, right? And I'd sleep with a girl that night, you know, because like, if I do that, I don't have to feel like this. And so the hardest thing to do is to actually be able to sit in those emotions and actually get used to them. And so for me, that was the biggest part, was actually getting comfortable with my own company again. There's like loneliness and there's being alone, right? Loneliness is like the feeling of like, I feel so alone that I can't bear this. And being alone is like, that's actually a really powerful place to be, when you feel comfortable being alone.
Yeah, I recently, not even recently, probably when about 28, 29, I'm 36 now. I started
Recently?
Recently. Well, recently in terms of my life, like I started to enjoy being alone, like enjoying my own company.
And that's a beautiful place and scary place to be.
Mate, it's so good, and you don't realize just how much you need it until you start doing it.
Exactly right.
You know?
But that'd be the biggest thing, is just to start to build some self-awareness. For me, my journey itself, I started journaling. I started really just reflecting on things, because the way that I see journaling, and everyone talks about this, but I want to really talk about why it's such a powerful thing. You've got 1,000,001 thoughts rattling around in your head. And for me at this time, I was 26 years old, 27 years old, and I had 1,000,001 thoughts been rattling around my head for the last 27 years. When you put them out of here and put them down here on the paper, so take them out of the head, put them on the paper, it gives you a third person perspective and allows you to see things from a different place. Yep. You become the observer of your thoughts. And when you can become the observer of your thoughts, you can choose differently, right? Rather than reacting, you can respond. Yeah, so that'd be the first thing, is like for me was actually learning a bit more about myself, understanding why those thoughts were playing out the way they were, like all the negative thoughts I had. Then I started doing a lot of, breath work and meditation, because that's just, once again, it's being okay within your own company, being okay within your inner space, but being more so okay within your own body, which is something that so many of us struggle with, right? Yep. Especially men that struggle with self-worth. The last thing they want to do is sit there in their head, because the thoughts are probably like, you're a piece of shit, look at you, you fat grub, right? And the more that you sit in those thoughts, the more comfortable you become being able to observe them, right? And meditation, breath work, just like any other muscle, right? It takes practice to grow and to be able to actually sit there and observe. And you can get to a point where you're actually just at pure bliss. You're just at pure, just that Zen state of just almost like floating, right? And you're just pure awareness.
Yeah, it definitely does have its worth. I do a lot of meditation, a lot of breath work. I've got an ice bath out the back that I use.
So good. And you've got to be present, right? That's
when you're in the ice, you can't think about anything else.
That's
about
it.
how, except for how terrible you're feeling
your
right
breath.
now.
Just focusing on your breath.
And your breathing, like trying not to shiver.
Yeah.
But being present is actually very difficult to do if you're someone who is constantly focused on like the bad things you've been doing, the past, the relationships, the her, the him, whatever.
Yeah.
Like being able to kind of be there in the moment and not self-deprecating is a skill. And you're right.
It takes time, right?
It takes time.
Takes time
and
to practice.
I remember I used to meditate and I'd be like, I'm not meditating. I'm no good at it, because I'd like start thinking about something else and get distracted within a minute. But guess what? That's everyone. Yeah. It's like saying I'm not going to run.
It's a skill.
It's like running 5 kilometers. If you've never run before and you go to run 5 kilometers, you might make it 100 paces. If you sit there and go, well, running's not for me. I tried it once and I only made it 100 meters.
Pick it up, put it down. It's not for me.
Exactly.
Right?
Like you need to work at it. Like, have you got any other habits or routines that help you maintain a positive mindset?
Well, on what we were just saying a second ago about the things that really help me, I want to say one more thing, and that's get a mentor.
Yes.
Get a mentor. Actually surround yourself with someone that has been there before, or someone that is well versed in what you're doing. Like if you want to get business advice, you're not going to go to a guy that doesn't run a business.
This is why AA and NA work. Yeah. Because you are forced to kind of associate with people who've been there, done that, who understand the trials and tribulations you are going through.
I think a big part of that though as well is that, and I've had this experience with a lot of people I work with, because I never went to NA or AA, but a lot of the people I work with have been there and they said it didn't really resonate with them. So it's actually finding what works for you. Okay, there's no such thing as one size fits all. It's
Totally.
finding what works for you individually. Like you might want to get a business mentor for your business. Great. You might want to get a feminine coach to work with you around certain wounds that you might have around your mother because it makes you feel safe, right? But finding what works for you. But back onto what you're saying there next about the healthy habits. For me, it's just doing the same things every day, right? And they get boring. Yeah, but the healthy habits that you put in place, the small things that you do, the small steps that get you to that progress, which eventually become boring, are the same things that will continue to get you the results. But a lot of us get sick of it because it's boring. It's the same thing now. Whereas when we make these changes, they feel exciting at first. And so
I would say it's not boring, like once you get into it, but initially I would say it's work. I don't think people stop meditation because it's boring.
I think a lot of people do though. What happens is they have this spike, and this is, once again, I've worked with over 100 men in the last 12 months, and almost every single one of them, 4 to 6 weeks in, because what happens is they get this growth, right? And it's like this just astronomical growth, right? And then it sort of drops off. The excitement of the growth drops off, right? And so it becomes mundane and boring. And then what you'll see is that some of the old habits start to come back in. It's like this bell curve, right? Because the excitement's worn off. And so what I have, once again, this is just from what I have noticed, is that a lot of people, when things become monotonous or the same, they look for that excitement in other ways, right? And this is generally where the drugs, the alcohol, the women, the gambling comes back in. And so once again, it's about staying the course and being consistent and putting in the conscious action around those habits, right? Because consistent conscious action is what got you there in the first place. And when it does get boring, okay, when I say boring, it's like the same, right? It hasn't got that same excitement factor. Continue to stay the course. And like you said, eventually it just becomes normal. It becomes the done thing. It's not work any longer.
Yeah. I also think that if you don't have something to look forward to, if you're not seeing progress with what you're doing, so like if I get a lot of people when I was a PT who would be like, yeah, I hate weight training, it's so boring. And I'd be like, okay, what have you done before? And they're like, oh, just, chest day, back day, whatever. I was like, were you following a program? They're like, no. I'm like, did you track any of your progress? They're like, no.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well,
what metrics do you have to track your progress, right?
Yeah. Well, what made you think that, like, well, of course you weren't excited about it. If you came in and did a personal best, if you did 7 reps at 10 kilos instead of 5 reps at 8 kilos the previous fortnight, but it's not written down anywhere, so you don't register that you're getting better.
That's right. There's no dopamine. There's no reward system there.
Yeah. So like, you just got to find ways to keep it exciting or keep it engaging, I guess.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest mistake I found people would make who were endeavoring to like have longevity in doing things they don't like, is that they don't track. They don't track what they're doing. They can't see progress because they're not tracking, and then they're like, well, this is boring and I don't getting anywhere. But you are, but you just don't know.
I think that just comes back to, because all of us have 6 basic human needs, right? There's a guy called Abraham Maslow who was an American psychologist, right? And he found that there was 6 needs that every single human has to be fulfilled, right? It's certainty, variety, significance, love and connection, growth and contribution. And we have those 6 things in our life, we'll live a fulfilled life. But that variety, when you're doing the same thing, if you haven't got variety in other areas of your life, it'll start to feel boring. And so it's making sure that you have that variety, you have that newness, you have that excitement. Like you said, setting new goals in the gym or having little milestones that you have to work towards the big goal that you have.
Yep.
Having that feeling of, once again, achievement, but also having that variety so you see that you are doing different things throughout the day.
Yep.
Will stop things from getting boring.
Yeah, absolutely. This episode brought to you by My OnlyFans. It's an amateur's paradise. Hundreds of girls and me. Get 50% off your first month at www.onlyfans.com/theapolloshow.aus. See you there. Mate, how do you approach social settings now, especially where drinking and drugs might be involved?
Like a boss.
Like a boss?
Right, honestly, for a little while there, I really struggled going out, especially to like, for instance, like your surface pav or your burly pav or things like that, because it was like I was the weird one. But I love going out in those sort of settings now, especially with like the right group of people, because to be fair, like the energy in those places for me is completely different to who I am. But when I'm with the right group of people and I'm with like good mates or whatever, I have no problem being in those settings, because it's like you're watching everyone else get real f***ed up. You're leaving at a certain time. You're leaving at like, let's say 8 p.m. You're waking up at 5. Well, I'm getting up at 5 a.m. to go for a run, and I'm still hearing from these people saying that they've got sore heads and they're probably still kicking on from the night before. Yep. And so for me, it's just, it's literally about the acknowledgement that that's not who I am anymore. Yep. And those sort of settings, I don't find myself in very often, but when I do, I still go out and have the best time.
Yep.
You know,
Same.
I'm on vodka lime sodas without vodka.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I mean, I still have a drink here and there, like,
Yeah.
but I will not get absolutely based. Like
Yeah.
maybe once or twice a year max.
Yeah. And that being said, like, I'm not saying like won't ever drink again.
No.
I've done this year sober, and I can count the amount of times I've been up in the last 2 years on one hand.
Yep. Perfect.
But I'm not saying I'm never going to drink again. But it's about me acknowledging that I don't need those things to be in that setting any longer.
Definitely not. Like, I used to use alcohol and drugs as a way to boost my confidence and talk to girls and stuff while I was out.
Yeah.
And I used to think I needed those things. But now, being mostly sober, like, I have an even better experience because I don't get hungover as the next day. I can have really great conversations with women, to which I never, really used to. I used to be very shy, funnily enough. And for the most part, I use going out to like hang out with my male friends.
Yeah.
Like if they're like, hey, we've got this thing for Melbourne Cup, I'll be like, cool. I'll go to that event, you know, and I'll go there and not get absolutely faced.
Yeah.
But just use it as a social thing, because I think that's the biggest thing dudes, I think, suffer at most right now is from loneliness, like from not having that group of male buddies, not having the 2 interactions a week with your friends that you need to have good mental health.
Yeah,
so
but that comes back to doing the work to get there, right? Like, if you're feeling lonely and you're feeling like you're around the wrong group of people, where would your perfect people be? And how can you put yourself in more of those environments?
Yeah,
Does
find something
that
you
mean,
like.
Joining a pickleball club? Does that mean going to the gym? Does that mean,
the gym is such a powerful,
so good.
Powerful tool for men and women, but it is such a powerful tool for men because it allows you to exert the bad energy that can come with testosterone.
Of course.
But it also allows you to build your own car. If someone said to me like, hey, you can have your car downstairs and through just a little bit of effort, you can make it from a V6 to a V8.
You could have a Ferrari or you could have a Falcon.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Exactly. I think it's an empowering thing to see like someone go from, being not very muscular and overweight to being like quite in shape and muscular and strong and all those things.
Sure.
So I think like for every dude, like you should be getting in the gym and
if you're not in the
your
gym
ass
now
off.
and you struggle with self-worth, that's the best place to start, because what you do is you go up there, you show up consistently, you tell yourself you're going to the gym, you're showing up for the gym, you're now a man of your word, which is something that builds self-worth, right?
It's so comparative to life, right?
That's right. And then you see the progress in the gym as well, and what that does is it increases your self-image, and then the self-worth grows as well. Like if you're struggling with any of that and you're not in the gym, there's your point to start.
And there's no shortcuts. What you realize is when you first start the gym, you try and do shortcuts. You're like, oh, I got this new program that's like extra hard work,
or
extra
steroids.
reps. Well, we're going to keep steroids out of it because that is a legitimate shortcut that a lot of dudes use and
that's
abuse.
The thing. But once again, what does that come back to? It comes back to a lack of self-worth. I want to increase this because I feel like about myself. This will make me bigger quicker.
Yeah, just lazy.
But then you take the steroids
laziness
away and the Band-Aid's off, and then it's just like the wound's still there.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I think the worst thing you can do if you're struggling mentally as a dude is start doing steroids.
100%. That's one. Once again, I think there's a place for it. Context.
Oh,
right?
dude.
100%. But if you've got a self-worth issue,
45, I'm going to be on testosterone replacement therapy.
100%. TRT, run it up.
100%. Yeah. But to do that as
you got 4 years, bro.
I know, right? I know. Fuck. But to get there as like if you're a young dude, if you're within like, between 18 and 30 years old, you can get some incredible results if you just go follow a program, are consistent, and it transfers over to real life. Like if you do the same things you did to get the great body naturally in the gym, you're probably going to have a great career because it means you can show up, you can show up on time, you can manage your time, you can manage your diet and recovery to make sure that you're your best at the gym to get the results you want.
It builds discipline, right? And that discipline is transferable to every area of life.
Exactly right. Yeah. Because they're really, outside of like chemical changes like steroids, there is no way to fast track results in the gym. Like if you're, there's no way to just add 5 kilos every week to your bench press until you're at a 200 kilo bench press. It doesn't work that way. So it teaches you to grind. It teaches you to be following the process, trust the process, and just know that if I do X, Y, Z, I'm going to get the result I want at the end. And it also teaches you like what happens when you don't follow the process?
Yeah.
You know, there's been,
Yeah.
you know, there's so many people that I, you know, trained who started and they were like, I want to be here. But then, you know, they get all the information and not follow it. So, I mean,
But that's again once back to that fallout rate, right? It's like, you know, it feels
Yep.
good at first, you get the excitement, but then when it gets boring and it gets hard and they're not seeing the results again straight away, the instant gratification, then all of a sudden they fall off,
yes,
you know.
100%.
And that just comes back to that discipline,
Yes.
you know. I think the beautiful thing about the gym as well is like when you're training, you eat better. When you eat better, you feel better. When you feel better, you sleep better. When you sleep better, you think better. It
It's
affects
the glue.
every area. I think of like the cornerstone, right? It's the corner piece of the puzzle.
Yes.
It brings everything together.
Yeah, I imagine like all those, like, you know, at weddings when they've got all the champagne glasses in a pyramid, that's like each layer of those glasses is like you're eating well, your sleep,
the pyramid, right?
Yeah, and then at the top you've got the wine being poured into the top, and that's what I think gym is. Like gym, if I'm training well,
It
I'm
overflows
eating
into
well,
everything, right?
flows into everything.
man.
Like it makes me sleep better. Like hormonally, it does some to my body and my brain that allows me to be more present, more focused. Like I probably have some ADHD tendencies. If I do like an hour of Stairmaster, for 3 hours after, I can focus on paperwork, no problem. So there are a bunch of things that are happening in your body that I think are really hindering you to be your best self. And I think that being that hard physical exertion helps like dampen those down a lot.
Yeah, it should be a staple in your day. Simple as that.
Yes.
Movement and connection every day.
100%. If you could give one piece of advice to someone who feels stuck in a harmful lifestyle, what would it be?
Know that one day you're going to look back at this and think about this bit as being one of the most pivotal points in your life. Like that moment that you're struggling with, that harmful lifestyle that you're stuck in, it's a choice, right? And one day, if you do choose to get out of that, that's going to be something you're able to draw courage and resilience off. And I guess the other thing as well is just knowing that no matter how far gone you think you are, there's always hope. There's always hope, no matter how far gone you are.
Absolutely. And you'd be so proud of yourself too. Like I look back at the person I was when I was at my kind of worst, when it came to like partying, binge eating, being in an unhappy relationship, being in an unhappy career that wasn't for me. And like I look at that period of time to now and I'm just like, man, you've just come so far. And I think that's pumps me up, you know, like it gets me pumped.
You should be able to draw encouragement, obviously inspiration from it, bro, because obviously whatever you've been through got you to where you are today. Like
exactly.
People ask me all the time, like, how do you feel about that now? And I'm like, well, to be fair, if it wasn't for all those dark parts of me, I wouldn't be able to stand here today, confident, sure of myself, successful in business, knowing that I'm helping hundreds of men around the world. And so for that, I'm proud of who I was, who I am, and even more so of who I'm going to become.
So you say you're helping hundreds of men around the world. Are you? You said you got 42 dudes currently on the books.
Yeah, so I've helped over 100 men in the last 12 months.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's just.
So what exactly do you do? Like if someone comes to work with you, they message you, hey Ben, I want to get started with this thing. What does it involve? Like what do they get for? Like do they pay a subscription and then they become part of the group chats and it comes with certain stuff? Like what do you?
Yeah, so I've got a course that I take people through. It's a 6-month container that takes them through something like a self-parenting model. It's like, I do this for you, I do this with you, you do it by yourself, right? It's teaching them, almost reparenting them around emotional regulation, communication, just the basic stuff of being a good man, right?
Yep.
I'm teaching principles like integrity and how to show up with integrity, you know, obviously being a man of your word, how to show up authentically, take the mask off and actually be the authentic self that you were born to be, because so many of us wear these masks, feeling like we have to impress everybody. And so like I work with people on a 6-monthly basis generally, because, and in the group and setting as well, because once again, we're talking about community before, we get better results with community because you've got that accountability there. Totally. And so people that want to work with me, they do that. They jump on board. We get them started in the program. We have 3 calls that we do per week. One's around the coursework, and obviously the coursework's a bit of self-discovery, but you've got to have your own accountability around that. It's not like every week we're doing something specific. It's self-driven. So you've got to show up and do the work, right?
Yep.
The Wednesday night call, we have like guest speakers coming on. I'll have other coaches coming on. We had a lady come on the other week and run breathwork for all the lads. I run master classes on different topics like I spoke about before, the hero's journey, or like the 6 stages of transformation within someone's life. We talk about like all sorts of different personal development sort of topics.
Yep.
Help men to sort of, I guess, understand these things about themselves. Emotional regulation, for instance, communication within relationships. relationship dynamics, whether you're an anxious, avoidant, secure, or disorganized attachment style. So obviously helping men to understand why certain behaviors play out in their lives.
Yep.
That's a bit of a base level. And then the Thursday night calls are the deep dive. And this is going deep on the emotional stuff, the traumas, the triggers, the limiting beliefs, the self-doubt, the self-worth, and actually helping these men to have these breakthroughs to understand how every behavior has then linked back to something from childhood. You know, and like on these calls, for instance, I had one of my lads, Scotty. He was in there for 2 weeks. And on his second week, we did a deep dive with him, and we related a lot of the stuff that was happening in his life back to an incident that happened when he was 15 years old. And he'd been seeing psychologists and counselors for the last 10, 12 years. And we cracked him in 2 minutes, and he had a full emotional breakdown, but it was like this purging of emotion and being able to forgive himself, but also being able to forgive his father. In this group, like the amount of times that I had one of my clients' mothers reach out to me, like saying, thanks for helping my son to find his self-worth. Our relationship's the best it's ever been.
Love
Partners
that.
reaching out, going, thank you so much for helping my partner. He's the best father, now the best partner, and he's also thriving in business. Like helping these people to repair relationships, because for us as men, we feel like we have to isolate ourselves. But when you realize that, especially like a lot of us, like obviously there's some parents that didn't do a great job, but a lot of our parents were doing the best with what they had available. And so when we can let go of that, and obviously then fix that relationship, it makes our lives easier too.
Definitely.
You know,
Definitely.
so that's like high level of what we do. There's, like I said, there's 6 months worth of work that we do together, and it's almost taking men through a journey of self-discovery, understanding different parts about themselves. And I guess that the first part of that is understanding where they're at. Okay, because for us as men, a lot of the time, you spoke about ego before, it's hard for us to take the mask off, put it down, and actually face ourselves. And the first month of us working together is me holding a mirror up to them and actually forcing them to face themselves. And then from there, the journey just gets deeper and deeper and deeper.
Awesome. Well, I love what you're doing, mate. I think it's really valuable. I think a lot of dudes would really benefit from being forced to take the mask off, because it's kind of what everyone does. Everyone has this, like every man that especially Gold Coast is like an especially.
They're a different breed, bro.
I was about to say, like, you're in the right town if you want to have a good client base of dudes who are struggling with identity.
You know what's funny, bro? Most of my clients come from like South Australia and Sydney.
Right.
I've got, like, obviously I live on the Gold Coast.
Well, that also doesn't surprise me, because like a lot of dudes from the Gold Coast are like, I don't need any fucking help.
That's the thing, right? It's like, I don't need help.
But then you look around and you're like, well, like, for example, I got a friend of mine who runs a tire business, and he's like, dude, you would be surprised how many dudes come in to get new tires for their Mercedes, and they have to pay the $1,000 for tires on 5 different credit cards.
Yeah,
because they just don't have the money for it.
Bro, one of my clients does finance, right? And he got this dude an AMG that had, I think he had like $5,000 in his account. And he was telling me he saw the same dude out that weekend driving his AMG in like Louis Vuitton, there's like Christian Dior at the club, like he had all this money, right? And it's just like, you look at it, it's like, that's exactly the problem, is the validation. They're doing all these things to make yourself feel good. Like, drugs and alcohol aren't the only way we externally validate. Buying yourself nice shit that you can't afford, that's a huge part of it.
Definitely.
Like who is it that talks about that? It's Brad Pitt in Fight Club. He's like, buying shit to impress people that don't even give a about you.
Yep, so true.
Right.
So true. There's plenty of that on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, bro.
Like, looking back, what do you wish you had known earlier in your journey?
That I had everything that I needed to be successful within myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this is the thing. Every single one of us undersells ourselves on our potential and our capabilities because of limiting beliefs that are placed on us from previous experiences, or what we choose to take on board from people that have told us certain things in the past. And so knowing that for every issue that I've ever had, being able to get through it myself, I could do that. You know, and so back to 16 years old, like 15 years old, like rather than leaning on the drugs and the alcohol, and I'm glad I did, because it got me to where I am today.
Yep.
And having this story that I can now use to help so many men, but knowing that it doesn't matter what happens, like as long as you give 100% of yourself to it, you're always going to come out okay.
Yep. Yeah, dude. Mate, can you let everyone know where they can find you?
Yeah, I can. So Ben Lowe Coaching, I actually recently changed it from Interchange Coaching. So Ben Lowe Coaching is the easiest way to get a hold of me.
On Instagram?
On Instagram.
Yep.
I've also got a little passion project we're working on at the moment. It's called the Interchange Project, which is a non-for-profit aimed at reducing youth crime. So working with men aged 15 to 25 to help to give these young men opportunities they might not have had. So obviously on the Gold Coast, the youth crime's out of control. 80% of young men that find themselves in the juvenile justice system are back in jail within 12 months because of a lack of support. And 85% of those kids are diagnosed with a mental illness of some kind once coming through the juvenile justice system, which relates back to a sexual, mental, physical, or emotional trauma. And so what we're looking to do with the Interchange project is help to provide these young men with mentorship, education, and good male role models to shift that, to change that for them. So
That's cool, man.
the Interchange project and Lowe coaching. And if you want to check out a cool event we've got going on, it's www.interchange.org.
Yeah, dude.
So that's where to find me.
Mate, thank you so much for the chat today. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was good, bro. Thank
Amazing.
you, G.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you, man.
Thanks for coming, everyone.